Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. This is Jorge and Roland coming at you again for another edition of Off the Bench, sponsored by Diplomacy Clothing. Roll, in coronavirus time, I like
Gotta stay safe, man.
I like to keep a
Yes,
little
sir.
safe with my new Diplomacy Clothing face mask over here. I'm a little muffled, as you can tell, but
Yeah, but
freshly made,
comfy, isn't it?
washable
Comfy though.
cloth over here for
Yep.
multiple use, and I got it in plaid. So shout out to Kyle Miller over here creating this great face mask, especially in this time of crisis. Go to Instagram, go to their Instagram at Diplomacy Clothing. DM Diplomacy Clothing if you want your order. They just got fresh new fabric. They're it's very creative. It's not just plain old black. It's anything you want. They have a ton of creative fabric. Order yours.
Cool
They're
designs.
very affordable and they're great. So follow them.
Yeah. Hell,
But roll the NFL draft just happened, and a
yeah.
lot a lot of things occurred.
A
um,
lot. A lot of craziness.
so I would just want to start things off by saying my New York Jets, for the first time in what feels like a long time, had a pretty good draft. Pretty good
Yeah.
draft. Pretty
I,
good.
I I rated you guys pretty decently. Y'all did good.
Larry David is sitting in his chair like this is pretty good. Looking at the selections, obviously Mekhi Becton. All the viewers were joining us for that NFL live stream, for number pick for the 11th pick. But looking down in the rest of this weekend, Denzel Mims just falls to them at 59. Ashton Davis, he's a versatile defensive back. He doesn't have to play safety. He can move into the corner. He can play linebacker sometimes. But knowing Greg Williams, he's going to be moving him all over the field. So that's a great pickup for the Jets, in my opinion.
No,
Jabari,
it was
I'm sorry.
definitely was a great pickup. Definitely was a great pickup for you guys.
You love a good versatile defensive back. Jabari Zuniga, an edge rusher that the Jets desperately need. Hopefully, he'll turn out to be the pass rusher that they've needed since John Abraham. Lamichael Perrine just putting up that depth for the running back behind Le'Veon Bell. Because after
Yep.
him, there's really not much to be proud about with that backfield.
No,
But
not
looking
really.
at James Morgan, and this is where it starts getting like, what are the Jets doing? You start nitpicking a bit, but for the important things. James Morgan, quarterback out of Florida International. Cameron Clark, offensive lineman out of Charlotte. Bryce Hall, cornerback, Virginia. Braden Mann, punter, Texas A&M. What do all four of these guys have in common? They're all captains. They're
Okay.
leaders. They're
Okay.
leaders in the collegiate level. So
Okay.
automatically, in those four straight picks, you get captains, you get leaders. Culture automatically changed in
Which is
that
what?
Jets
Yeah,
locker
that's
room.
exactly what the Dutch was lacking, and
And
now that you bring that point up, yeah,
yeah,
good point.
and one last thing, before before the last day started of the NFL draft for the fifth and through seventh round picks, the Jets had two sixth-round picks. They traded one of them for another cornerback from Indianapolis. So that makes it 11 players that used to be on the Colts that are now wearing green and white. And I'm loving this Joe Douglas era.
Yeah, I mean, no, great points by you. I didn't even realize the captain thing. I mean, and if you think about the New York Jets, if you just sit back and you know football and you watch football, and from the outside standpoint, you look at it like, well, what do the Jets lack? Because they got talented players. I think we can all agree to that. They got players. I don't think they lack football players. They lack leadership.
Yeah.
And now this kind of forces. Well, it doesn't force. I don't want to use the word force because it's used in a negative way, but it allows, I should say, Sam Darnold to be the quiet guy and just go out and play football. That's what he is. He's not your rah rah guy. And I think that's why a lot of the New York media criticize him and you know really nails in on the fact that he's not a great leader. And it's like, I mean, if you watch the kid, he was never a great leader really in USC, but he was productive. And if you just allow the kid to go out there and play football, I think he'll do his job. And the offensive lineman in the first round was the perfect pick. We
Yeah.
knew they were going to go offensive lineman. It was the proper pick. I like that you guys addressed corner. That was I felt another need for you guys. You guys gave um Jermaine Johnson is his name, I believe.
Yeah,
That's what you guys paid.
Tremaine Johnson has been released before
Yeah, I know
injury
you guys
losses,
have
but he was.
released him, but yeah, there we go. You guys have paid him, but they got released him. I mean, after
Mhm.
what, a year and
About a year and change ago.
yeah. So I mean, it was definitely a need, and I mean, you guys really know the draft. I wouldn't say you guys won the draft, but you guys are definitely you're definitely in the top 8. I'll give
Okay.
you that. Okay, you like you guys did really good.
And here's the thing. I mean, like Mekhi Becton and Cameron Clark, like they're boys. They've been
Yeah,
boys for a
yeah,
really long time.
yeah.
And Cameron Clark actually could play at guard. And now there's a whole speculation on the future of Brian Winters, because he's in the last year of his contract. If the
Hmm.
Jets cut him, they save $8 million on the cap,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
It's a
they could
no-brainer,
use that
honestly.
money. So you could go young with the offensive line, but now
Yeah.
I think the total number of offensive linemen that Joe Douglas has brought on to the Jets is around 15.
I mean, he understands you build from the trenches,
Yeah.
and he's not afraid. He's not afraid to admit that. Okay, obviously the last picks didn't hit home run on the draft some more. He's. I think it's admirable as a fan base to get behind a guy who is willing to put in the resources that he has available to him to make sure that Sam Darnold and whoever's taking snaps for the New York Football Jets is in the best situation to thrive.
Oh yeah. And the one pick I really, really love is the Bryce Hall pick. I mean,
Yeah, you were talking about that.
this kid was playing really well before his ankle injury that just cut his season short at Virginia. And really, had that injury not happened, he would have been gone in the second round, maybe late first. Because this kid has it. When he's healthy, this
He's a
kid is a
talented.
lockdown corner
He's a talented corner for sure.
when you put him on press man to man. This kid will shut you down. And
I
I
like that
haven't
he's
seen
athletic.
I haven't seen talent like this since honestly Revis and Cromartie back in the day,
Okay.
and he has that kind of potential if he
I
stays
think
healthy.
I think it reminds me. He has the mentality definitely of a Darrell Revis. I'm not going to say he's a talented Darrell Revis because I believe
Mhm.
when Darrell Revis came out, he was by far I think regarded as the best corner in that draft. He was the man. But I definitely get where you're going with the comparison. He definitely could be you guys number one if healthy. I think the biggest concern here was coming off the injury.
Yes.
What will be of him? Did he lose a step? I don't think he did. It wasn't. We've seen worse injuries and players come back a lot better. So I'm not gonna sit here and knock the kid. Like you say, he was definitely if he wasn't a late first rounder, he was for sure a day 2 guy. He definitely would have got called on during the second round. No, I could hardly imagine him being there come third.
Oh yeah. But
But
like
again, you guys did good.
and now the pressure is on for Adam Gase. It's really time to put on the head coaching gear. It's not. It's no longer time for him to go back to the Miami ways and start having some issues with the receivers, anything like that. You have Denzel Mims. The one issue with him is that he drops the ball a lot. But I mean, Braylon Edwards set the record for number of drops in a season. He
That
gets
he did.
traded to New York, and all of a
That he
sudden he's
did.
a legit number one receiver. So I have faith that the Jets can fix him if a guy like Rex Ryan that didn't focus on offense at all was able to fix Braylon Edwards. They can fix Denzel Mims.
I agree.
Now, who do you
Well,
think won this draft, sir?
now, George, I know we spoke off air about a little bit about the draft. We're boys. We talk,
Yeah.
and Dolphins, man. Now here's the thing. I'm gonna actually change it up on you. I
Okay.
actually think it's a tie, and I think it's a
Oh.
close tie.
Oh, okay.
It's a close tie. Now Miami, I believe, did They nailed it. I think they knew what they wanted. And they
Yeah.
know the style of team they want to be. They want to be athletic, quick off the edge, and have a bunch of guys who are more talented than the people they are lined up against. And I mean, it would have been so Miami for them to not do that. They to just fold under pressure. They did not do that. They took Tua, who I'm going to continue to say, if there was no injury concern, is by far the best quarterback prospect in this draft. I love
Okay.
Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a great. I think he's going to be good. Joe Burrow is definitely going to be good for Cincinnati. But Tua is a generational talent. Like there's a difference from being a good quarterback, and then there's the chance to be on one of three, one of two. Like you're bred different, you're coded different. You're not,
Yeah.
and he's that guy. I mean, in Alabama, you can say, "Oh my gosh, he has so much talent to the people around him,"
Mm-hmm.
but you still got to go out there and deliver the ball. I mean, he came back in the national championship game in his very first start, and you saw him. The
Right.
kid looked great.
Yeah.
You know, um, I just love that they nailed it. I believe they nailed it with the quarterback, and then I wanted to touch on the kid Austin Jackson.
Yeah.
Athletic, George. I mean, I didn't know super much about the kid when they drafted him.
Mm-hmm.
But I quickly put on film, and I sat there and watched easily about 45 minutes worth of whatever I could find on him. And I mean, he moves people, George. I mean, you wouldn't believe that by looking at his schedule, but he moves people. He's athletic enough to run zone concepts. You can kick him. He's good at getting to the second level, and obviously holding off the linebackers. And I mean, people are going to knock the fact that they didn't draft the running back, but then they went and traded for Matt Breida. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're
It is what
getting a
it
low.
is.
You just got a running back, and
Yeah.
you didn't have to waste a draft capital on him. So I love what they did in the draft. They went and got the corner out of Auburn, and then they went and got Davis. Later in the draft as well to help out the D line. So I mean, they did. They did good, George. I mean, but I want to. Other team I haven't tied with here
Mm-hmm.
is. Do you want to take a guess?
Uh. Is it in the AFC North?
In the AFC, it's not the North. It's
Oh,
the Indianapolis Colts. I really love
Indianapolis
what they.
Colts.
I
Wow.
really love what they did as well. I mean,
Okay.
the Pittman pick for receiver.
Yeah.
I think he was probably the best available. I think we would agree.
Definitely. Definitely.
Came on. So he was definitely a great pick. I think anybody it lost him at Funches, which I would argue as a Carolina Panther fan, not a huge loss to begin
Mm-hmm.
with. so you're getting Ty back. You paired him up with Pittman. They got Jonathan Taylor. Some will argue was the best running back in the draft. There were some people who argue
Definitely.
that. And then you pair him up with a Marlon Mack. And then they got the kid Jonathan Williams we've seen last year. I don't know if he's still there, but if he's still there, that's a three-headed monster, George.
Ooh.
That's the, you know.
And now
And
you
then
have Philip Rivers as your quarterback. Ooh.
yeah, but then they
Ooh.
also got Jacob Eason out of
Yep.
Washington.
So now.
And
So now. Go on.
so now you pair him in there. He sits behind. You're talking Jacoby Brissett and Philip Rivers. Who else would you want? Those are two great, people to sit back and study to get from. Those are honorable people, captains on teams. So obviously teaching to be a leader. Issa, I don't think nobody worries about him being a leader. He seems like that kind of guy. He's very, on top of his team. But then they also went and got Julian Blackman, George. Safety out of Utah. And if anyone knew anything about Utah, I mean, Utah's not a team you watch a lot of football on. But if you put on the tape, you see the kid.
Pac-12 fans know a lot about Julian Blackman.
So yeah, exactly. Funny enough, the quarterback knows something about him. So I mean, the kid can play, and I mean they got Malik Hooker. So I imagine Malik's going to play the free safety role, and Blackman will fill the strong safety role. And then you pair that up there. I mean that's a quality pairing. I just love what they did.
Yeah, and you know what? They also they didn't address the receiver position once. They made a trade with the Chiefs, who had originally made the trade with the Jets for Isaiah Rodgers, corner from UMass. Mm-hmm. They also got Desmond Patman from Washington State. This kid, his hands are he can drop some passes, but the threat downfield is something that the Colts desperately needed.
I mean, George, we remember when John Ross got drafted, and nobody John Ross not going to be mistaken for great hands. Nobody can mistake John Ross for having great hands. But if you get speed, speed is speed. You can't teach that.
And just going back to Miami, I mean, Austin Jackson automatically replaces Laramie Tunsil.
Thank you.
Miami averaged 72 yards per game last year, and
It
was
was
last in
ugly.
the league
It
in
was ugly.
sacks.
Yeah, it was
This
ugly.
this draft pick automatically changes that whole dynamic. And
Yeah,
now Barreto coming in with the trade, that changes everything. You have a great core now with Tua, Austin Jackson,
Rita,
especially
Devontae
Robert Hunt that
Parker,
they got in day
Pittman.
2.
Yes, they see
Now
George.
you're MI as if you're Miami, you're really shoring up that offensive line, not just for now, for like the Wirfs pick, I believe it was the pick that the Bucks made. Just to have someone protect. It was either
Oh yes, yeah,
yes,
I know who you're talking about.
yeah, Tristan Wirfs from
Worse,
Iowa,
worse. Yeah,
and
from
Bucks
Iowa.
got him basically because they needed a tackle, and Brady's there for 2 years presumably.
Yeah, that's
But with
assuming.
with the thing Miami's doing that's different is that now they're shoring up that line for the future.
Thank you,
So
thank
it's
you.
like, oh, Burrow, you got protection for the rest of your day. Not Burrow, Tua,
Sure.
you got protection for
And
the rest of your
and
days.
what? And if you guys were live in the stream, you guys probably heard me say this. They're drafting athletic because I mean, if you like I said, if you watch as much tape as I had, or even more tape on Austin Jackson than I have, you can see the kick move.
Yeah,
And what do Tua love to do? He wants to get he wants to
he's
roll
a
out the
mobile
pocket.
quarterback.
He wants to do his thing. What better tackle would you rather have? Like I mean, he was probably the most athletic tackle I believe in this draft. If we were going based off pure athleticism, I would probably argue he was probably the best in the draft. And I mean, Miami stayed true to what they wanted. They knew what they wanted, and they nailed it, man. And Noah, the corner. I remember when they drafted him. I was like, man, like he's not a household name, but the kid can play.
This man can play. This man can
Yeah, the
play.
kid can play, man.
And the
You
fact that they kept trading down to 30 and were still able to nab him says a lot about the scouting department for
in
Miami.
Miami, yeah.
And now you get this kid Noah, and you pair him next to Byron Jones. Byron Jones might get some interceptions.
This year. Yeah, for sure, man. No, for sure. I think a lot of people don't realize that they always associate Byron Jones with corner of the Dallas Cowboys. He was a free safety for his first 2 years there. Like he was playing free safety. He wasn't always a corner.
That's true.
So I
Speaking
mean,
of the Cowboys, who are the losers of the draft?
now there is there's a team that deserves mention here before I do dive on the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the Houston Texans. By far the worst thing I could have seen them do. I don't know what they were doing, but now it's for me to dive in on the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas had a prime opportunity, George. I mean, prime opportunity. Either trade up
Yeah.
and go ahead and grab one of those offensive linemen, or trade up, get one of those lockdown corners, or even hell, you trade down, you get McKenzie later in the draft, and you mortgage some more draft picks. What they decided to do was go for the best player on their board.
Yeah.
And theoretically, that doesn't. I hardly ever does that ever work out. Hardly ever do you see a team say, "Oh, this is the best available player, so we're just going to draft him." He's not a position of need, George. All he's going to do is allow Dak Prescott to flourish. Which I mean, I guess is great. But if you don't want to pay the guy, you know what you want him to flourish for to begin with. So it's like, I mean, they still going to have glaring needs at corner, safety, and they need a more stable pass rush. They didn't address any of that, and the fact that this shows where I think we should have all figured what was going on when Jerry Jones was trying to get Emmanuel Sanders out of free agency instead of trying to spend money. You get a Jadavion Clowney in free agency.
Right.
Like, who would you rather have, Emmanuel Sanders or Jadavion Clowney? Like,
Now,
and you need him.
Mm-hmm. To be fair to Dallas, yes, they drafted CD Lamb. That was more of just the best player available. But in the second round, they get Trevon Diggs. And Trevon Diggs, he's a pretty good corner from Alabama.
When studying tape, I had him the fifth best corner in the draft.
And then they addressed the corner position again, getting Reggie Robinson, the second from Tulsa.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have a pair of corners that
theoretically
could start next to each other, but
They're going to have no
There's
choice.
only one defensive end. They got a center from Tyler Baidaz from Wisconsin, but the problem with
That was
him,
probably the only pick I liked.
but the problem with him is that he doesn't really get to the second level in the run game.
No, he doesn't. No.
And when you have Ezekiel Elliott in the backfield, you need to get to the third level.
Third level. You need them all. I mean, it's going to help him that he's not going to be mashed up. He's going to be more in double team situations, helping push up off the line. And I think in single one-on-one blocking, he'll be more assigned to help out Landon Collins, not Landon Collins, but Leo Collins, the left guard on the Cowboys, and Zach Martin, the right guard on the Cowboys. But I mean, that was a decent pick. I like the pick because it was a position of need. 2 corners they got. I love Diggs. I just don't think he's ready yet.
And Diggs is going to be pushed into the number 1 corner spot, which is going to be problematic. Music to the rest of the NFC East ears. Problematic for the Cowboys defense.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially since they only got one edge rusher later in the round. I believe at round 6. But my big loss, biggest loss this draft is in Wisconsin, and it's Green Bay. Now, setting aside the first round pick, which we'll discuss later, there's not been a single wide receiver picked by this Green Bay organization. And Aaron Rodgers went on record to say, I'll be happy with whatever skill position you guys
I'll give them a call.
They drafted A.J. Dillon out of Boston College in the second round. Well, I guess that running game that helped propel them to a game away from the Super Bowl really didn't mean anything, Aaron Jones.
I mean, they got Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. The heck do you need another running back for?
I guess Josiah DeGura from Cincinnati did well, but you don't need another tight end. He doesn't stretch the field. No. And then the rest is just an offensive guard, inside linebacker, offensive tackle. I mean, these are great pieces if you're a rebuilding Green Bay Packers team. But last I checked, you were right there on the doorsteps of the Super Bowl. These picks don't scream out, yeah, these are going to help us win the Super Bowl. And now, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, forget the first round pick. Rounds 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, what the hell are you doing?
Not a single receiver, George.
Not a single. And just a note for our listeners, 27 wide receivers got drafted. None by the Green Bay Packers.
Oh.
None. And this is supposed to be one of the deepest receiving class where you could even find a gem in the 7th round.
That's what we kept talking about.
And you get a defensive end and a safety where you trade up to get them. You trade with Buffalo and Baltimore to trade up into the 7th round.
Not to take a receiver, though.
Not to take a receiver. And you focus on defense. You basically, and the A.J. Dillon pick really spoke to me. Y'all don't know what you're doing.
No.
Y'all don't know whether you want to compete for a Super Bowl or you all want to build for the future. And Aaron Rodgers is there for another 3 years. Technically, he's there for 2 more years with his $40 million guaranteed contract. And
you hear what the owner said? They came out and said, "Oh, we're still, we're trying to win for the Super Bowl. We got Aaron Rodgers, and we're trying to go for the Super Bowl." Then how do you justify to your fan base that you took Jordan Love? You traded up to go get the kid.
That's not even the worst of it. The worst of it was the general manager saying we did not consult Aaron Rodgers with any of the picks.
Well, it's clear they didn't because they didn't draft a wide receiver.
Now, you know what? Green Bay is giving me such a big headache that I'm shocked because they really drafted Jordan Love in the first round.
Yes, they did.
This is where things get interesting because everyone's like, "Oh, it's just like when Aaron Rodgers got drafted. He was like 35, and Aaron Rodgers was young, and they said, "Oh, look at Aaron Rodgers, he just fell in our lap." But the difference here is that they traded up.
He didn't fall in the lap.
Miami.
Yep, didn't fall in the lap.
Pick number 26, and specifically choose Jordan Love. specifically Jordan Love.
Yeah.
That is a huge different scenario than what Aaron Rodgers went through. Because
Yeah,
at least if
completely.
you're at 30, you could say, yeah, Jordan Love is the best player available on the board, and like not our board, Mel Kiper's board, Daniel Jeremiah's board, everyone's board. He's the best player available at 30. So
Mhm.
you could, there's some
Justify, kind of.
reasoning in
Yeah,
that
there's
thought
something
process.
justifying. Hmm.
There's justifying that pick. But when you move up to select him, you're saying we really want you. And honestly, I thought the New England Patriots were gonna get Love,
I thought so too.
and I just want to double check this before I keep going. But I don't think the Patriots even drafted a quarterback.
Did they?
No, they did not draft a quarterback.
I don't think they did.
And they did not draft a quarterback at all. And they were linked to all these quarterbacks.
They were
this
they were
draft.
literally linked to everybody.
And
Everybody.
the fact that you're just slapping Aaron Rodgers' face with all these selections, and more specifically the Jordan Love selection, yeah, I guess you could groom him for 3 years, but this isn't back in the day when Aaron Rodgers got drafted, where you're only playing quarterback until you're 35. Like Aaron Rodgers isn't at the twilight of his career. We can
Oh,
still say
Aaron Rodgers
he's
has at
towards the
least
end of his prime.
another solid 5 years. At least
So
solid.
you're just saying, yeah, we're gonna pick your heir apparent now, and if you don't win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years, then yeah, we're just gonna start over.
And I said it would be super hilarious. Because here, George, as you just said, this is not the same situation with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. No disrespect to Jordan Love. But Aaron Rodgers, you could have made a case should have been selected number one. There was talks of him being selected there number one. There
Yeah,
was talk. It wasn't not like people knew Aaron Rodgers was going to drop that far. That wasn't known. People thought he was going to go early. He wasn't supposed to be sitting in that green room for as long as he would. That's why it was such a big deal. You
yeah.
know, Jordan Love, we all knew, minus a team who was going to go up and shock the world to go get the guy, was going to be drafted later in the first round. We all knew that. He was a late first round talent. And what happens if he's not Aaron Rodgers 2.0? What if the kid can't play? And then you not only did you just draft the kid who can't play, you didn't help Aaron Rodgers when you had the chance to help Aaron Rodgers.
And now that Super Bowl
And
window,
and hold on, George, real quick. If you're Matt LaFleur, you're not going to be there long enough to see Jordan Love if you guys don't start winning.
not
I don't get why you would even want that pick.
especially if you're Matt LaFleur saying we're gonna run the ball next year. Like, I'm sorry, sir, this is 2020. We throw the ball these days.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
we don't go ground and pound anymore. The last time that was successful was 10 years ago exactly, when the Jets made an AFC Championship run, and we ended up losing to a passing team in the Steelers and Colts. So
I mean, in all fairness, King Derrick Henry did get the Titans close.
I mean, they didn't beat the Chiefs though.
No, they did not. No, they did not. And with
So-
what the Packers did, they're not going to beat the Chiefs either.
And if you're gonna emphasize the run, I mean, yeah, I guess the selection of AJ Dillon helps, but Aaron Jones is your number one guy.
And Jamal Williams was your solid number 2 guy.
So
I'm
where
trying
does
to
this
figure out-
selection come from? Where's the thought? You're pretty much spitting in the face of the team you established last year
You're
that
spitting in the
clearly is
face
set
of
to
the,
win.
Yep, you're spitting in the face of the 2 guys who carried you most.
And I don't know, this whole Green Bay situation.
They still can't stop the run. They're still not going to be good at stop the run.
And
They're still going to have
yeah,
triple coverage on Devontae Adams because you don't have another receiver who poses a threat. Alan Lazard, I'm sorry, is not a number 2 receiver. Shouldn't be on the field. But
and since you mentioned that they can't stop the run, the inside linebacker Kamal Martin they selected out of Minnesota, he's a great inside linebacker in zone coverage. The problem is when you put him in man-to-man.
Man. And you try to have him shed 300-something pound man's blocks.
and
Not equipped for that.
And yeah, he can locate the ball while he's engaged with the blockers, but at the same time, he's not a run stopper.
No.
He's a
He can
zone
locate the ball.
linebacker.
Yeah, he can locate the ball, yeah, sure. But if you can't get off the blocks to get to the ball, what good are you? You know, like you lost Big Martinez in free agency. You didn't even bother trying to sign the guy. As far as I'm concerned, you just kind of said, "Nope, you can go." You led our team in tackles for the last 4 years, but nope, you can go.
This could be an example of one of those draft classes that really just sets a team back.
Yeah,
Now, do you have a shock of a draft class that really sets a team forward?
that really sets the team forward. That's not me in Miami. Yes, yes, I do. And I mean, I'm gonna go with our number one team here. Cincinnati Bengals. I mean,
Okay.
Joe Burrow's ready to play. He's a plug and play guy. And then you look at what they did, Jordan. Not only in the, well, I mean, see, the argument could have been made here that you could also said the Baltimore Ravens. I really love what they did too. But if you sit here and look at what the Cincinnati Bengals did here, they took T. Higgins, the Clemson wide receiver,
Yeah.
pretty good receiver. I think we all can agree. He wasn't in the top three. He wasn't even in the top four. He was a guy we all knew. We all knew he could play. They went inside linebacker with the kid here. What's it? Logan Wilson, I believe it's the kid's name out of Wyoming.
Yes.
And I mean, they don't have a linebacker worth mentioning at the moment, anyway. So I mean, the need was justified. The pick was justified. They got a lot of players, George, who could come in and play right now.
Yeah.
And I've been telling you for the long period of time. I love obviously the roster of the Cincinnati Bengals. When you start talking Geno Atkins, William Jackson, you know, um, AJ Green, obviously Tyler Eifert, Tyler Boyd, you know, John Ross when he comes back healthy, Joe Mixon could be arguably a top 5 running back. It didn't need it. They need leadership, and
Yeah.
much like how you said the Jets went ahead and got people who can lead. I'm pretty sure that's what the Cincinnati Bengals got here themselves. They got a couple of people who I believe is going to play a minimum 10 years with the Cincinnati Bengals if all stays support.
And the thing I love about the T. Higgins pick is that that AJ Green, he's 32 years old. He's getting up there in age.
And injury prone.
And he's injury prone now. John Ross, he had a great season last season.
Before he got injured, yeah.
Before he got injured, but you could say he's more of a 3 than a 2. You put Higgins, sure. you put Higgins at that number 2 spot. Now you have John Ross where he strives the best. Higgins and AJ Green spreading the field.
And the crazy thing is, Tyler Boyd is an equal number 2.
Yeah,
Tyler Boyd is amazing. That's a great receiver.
Yeah, they got if Zach Taylor can get everything right with this Cincinnati Bengals team year 1, he could win Coach of the Year with the talent he has.
Yeah, for sure. They got a lot of talented players. I think Joe Burrow set up easily to win Rookie of the Year.
Is there a team that shocked you this draft?
That shocked me?
Or any draft selections that shocked
The
you?
Miami Dolphins, George. Miami Dolphins, George. I mean, it's so Miami to have a great game plan and not execute it. How many like the talk of the draft before the draft started was, is Miami going to move up to 3 to jump called the Giants and get this offensive lineman? That was the talk, George. And, I mean, all things considered, the Giants couldn't tackle everyone thought they were going.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they were in love with the kid from Bama, they could have took him at the number 5 pick. They could have, or they could have traded up earlier from their 15, 16 slot to get to 9, 10, and go take the tackle then. But they stood their grounds and they drafted how they needed to draft. They needed to get athletic. They needed to fix some needs.
Yeah.
And they needed franchise cornerstone pieces. And every pick they drafted meant something. And every player they took was for the future. Now I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, is Tua gets injured? What was this all about?" If Tua gets injured, then Tua gets injured. You can live with that. You can't live with knowing I passed up on Tua, and now he's the top 2. He's top 3 in quarterbacks.
Yeah. Especially at a time where it's a post Tom Brady AFC East.
Yeah.
Every team not in New England has its shot to take the throne.
George, we can make an argument. We could literally sit here and make an argument that Miami will be in competition to win the AFC East this year. We can talk about that. That's
One
worth the conversation.
and one of the bigger moves that they did was trading for Matt Breda for a fifth round pick.
Or a fifth rounder.
And now in Miami, you have Jordan Howard, who is
Jordan Howard. Yes.
hungry to prove he's a
Yes.
number one lead back. And now you have Breda, who's going to have to adapt
The
to
pass
being a
catcher.
pass catcher.
Well, but that's what that's basically what he kind of was over there in San Francisco with the three-headed monster that they had, Coleman, Rita, and Mostert. But now he gets the opportunity to solidly have a place in the lineup. Jordan Howard, like you said, will be hungry to prove I'm this court. I can do this. And then Tua, if he plays this year, I don't know if the kid's playing this year. I don't know if that's the plan.
Yeah.
If their plans to
But if you're
Ryan
Miami, you're comfortable with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's
Yeah.
the anti-tank. So you won't be as bad with Fitzpatrick at quarterback. He'll keep you afloat.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
won't look as bad. And obviously, the Miami coaching staff is anti-tank as well, and they coach their butts off every week.
every week.
And looking at the rest of their selections, I mean, they address the offensive line, they address the defensive line.
Line.
They even got another wide
Secondary.
receiver in the seventh round, Malcolm Perry out of Navy.
Navy. Yep. Tough kid. Tough kid.
And it's just like, wow, these are great building blocks for Miami. As a New York fan, as a New York Jets fan, Buffalo fan, even New England fan, I might start getting a little scared of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
Because they got some real good building blocks. And
Hiring Brian Flores. Hiring Brian was the smartest move they could have done because he's literally taking this team by the horn and is getting his guys in there.
And looking at the Miami Dolphins free agency moves, this is basically Patriots Southeast.
I mean, I gave them an A+ for the draft. I give them another A+ for free agency. Like you said, you're about to go ahead and read off the free agents for us.
So there's Eric Flowers, Jordan Howard, as mentioned, Byron Jones, Shaq Lawson, Emmanuel Ogba, Kyle Van Noy. I mean, if those free agents don't just put a stingle in your spine, as it did
George,
this team
athletic. George, every player you just named here is athletic.
And the thing that New England fans hate to acknowledge, because a lot of New England fans are saying, yeah, we'll be fine. We won with Matt Castle when Brady was injured for the rest of the season. But who won the division that year? It was bad shoulder Chad Pennington leading the Miami Dolphins to an 11-5 record or 10-6 record. Either way, they won the AFC East.
Yeah. I
And
think they were 11-5.
and lost to a young Joe Flacco. But they won
Yeah.
the AFC East. If bad shoulder Chad Pennington and this is Chad Pennington post numerous shoulder surgeries could win the AFC East when Tom Brady isn't there. Good God, if I want to see post ankle injury Tua Tagovailoa make a run for the AFC East.
Yeah.
As much as I love Sam Darnold, that would be scary.
George, I'm hopping on the bandwagon early, man. We gotta get these Tua jerseys while we can.
Well, you can. I'm gonna stick with my Bell jersey.
Well, no, yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, Panthers through and through here, but for the sake of if I have an AFC team I need to cheer for, and the New York Jets are not in contention, I will go with the Miami Dolphins.
So the one thing now that the NFL draft is over now,
Yes.
there's one key story that people are just brushing over that I think should be discussed. Cam Newton is still a free agent.
Yeah, and he wasn't going to sign until after the draft, so here we are.
So after this draft, everyone basically has signed all the free agents. They can sign all the undrafted free agents. Where does Cam Newton go in a post-NFL draft?
George, if the Patriots don't get Cam Newton, I honestly would be shocked. Like, I mean, you cannot go into the season with George Stidham and Brian Hoyer listed at your two quarterback. You just can't. Like, unless you honestly, in the heart of heart, believe he's the next Tom Brady, how can you justify it? And then you look at the teams. Miami, they addressed their quarterback needs. Chargers went and got Herbert. Um, Chicago traded for Nick Foles prior to the draft. I'm just listing off the teams off the top of the head that we
Now,
knew
now,
needed
now,
quarterback.
one team that you didn't mention is Jacksonville. Now, they like you said, traded Nick Foles to Chicago, and they're technically going Gardner Minshew, but
I think
Jacksonville can be a good spot for Cam Newton.
I'm on record that they're going to tank for Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe they're trying to win. I think they know Gardner Minshew is not going to help them win. So I think they're, and that's why I think the talks of Leonard Fournette and being traded, I think that's more of a reason why they're willing to trade him than the fact that he talked about Cam Newton. I think they just don't want the wins. Yeah, they know Leonard Fournette getting results to some wins, so they're like, we should probably get this guy out of here. you know, so I mean, I
But
don't
if
think they're
it's
going to
it's
be
a
a play.
good situation in Jacksonville. I mean, Gardner Minshew showed that he's an average quarterback last year.
Exactly.
Maybe above average in certain points, but
Points, yeah.
you put in Cam Newton there. If he gets hurt, you're comfortable putting out Gardner Minshew just to for a few weeks until Cam Newton gets healthy, or if he can't start the season, Minshew can keep the boat afloat.
Yeah.
But it's sunny Florida in Jacksonville in Duval County. It's similar to the weather he's been used to in Carolina.
Um, Another team I'm still thinking about is maybe. I mean, I hate to say it because you don't want to bust the young kid's bubble, but Denver could still be a play here. That's not a complete notion that just because they drafted well, didn't draft the quarterback to replace that man Drew Lock. Doesn't mean that they're sold on Drew Lock. That doesn't necessarily mean that. You know, so I mean, there's a chance we could see Cam Newton, and we know Doc Elway is going to do his due diligence. He'll
And the
he'll
thing,
he'll look into it. He'll look into it for sure. And real quick, another team, and this is like a long shot.
yeah,
Like this is a long shot and long shots. And it would honestly depend on what Cam Newton would be asking for upon signing. You know, um, but the Rams, if they just like, hey man, we got
oh,
they're already showing we're cutting ties. We're cutting ties to
oh,
Todd Gurley. We're cutting ties to Brandon Cooks. They're free, cap space. Um, I would not honestly be shocked if they did get rid of Jalen Ramsey. And the only reason why I say that is because Sean McVay is not going to get fired, George. It's not him who's going to get fired. It's going to be the GM who gets fired.
it's always the GM first and never the coach.
They'll be
Never
like
both
at
at the same
the
time.
same time. Well, I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll get both. Rarely is. And I'll look at it like, huh. I mean, yeah, you got Blake Bortles, but what's Blake Bortles? Who cares about Blake
Yeah.
Bortles? But can you imagine a Rams team, a Sean McVay, with an athlete like a Cam Newton, with Robert Woods, and I mean,
Ooh.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. This is just a dark shot. If we just had to pick a team that could come out of the dark horse and just rise and say, hey, we're going to make a play for Cam. The Rams could be a sneaky team there, because they do got to find a foundation,
They
and they're
do.
going to be too good to take for Trevor. I'm not saying they're going to be overly good, but they're going to be too good to get the first pick. You got Aaron Donald on your defense. You're going to get more than 2 wins. It's
That's
break
true.
news to you. You know.
One more team I want to talk about before we sign out. The Philadelphia Eagles. Now they addressed needs at wide receiver,
Yeah, I like their draft.
but the one pick I'm having trouble wrapping my head around is
Let me hear it.
selecting Jalen Hurts. Now they just signed Carson Wentz to a 5-year, $100 million extension.
2 years ago, yeah.
Why? What goes through your mind in saying, you know what, we need a quarterback?
Um, Not to, and I love Carson. I think Carson is a top 5 talent, amazing quarterback. I'll ride for Carson. Like if Carson was on my team, I'm happy. I'm not going to argue because he's a stud of quarterback. But we can also understand this man is injury prone. I mean, every year this man is getting injured. And if you bring in Jalen Hurts, you bring in the dynamic that will almost be like when they were winning when they were really winning championships over in Philly and they had a decent backup in Nick Foles. You don't want to risk like Carson is such a big piece to what they do. You can't risk him getting injured, and if he does get injured, you need somebody to back him up.
Right.
Because what they do is very quarterback centric, like every other team. But there's some teams like the Chiefs who we see they lost Patty Mahomes, Matt Moore comes in. They're not riding through they're not riding through games, but they're not getting blown out. You
Right.
know, they're still oddly competitive.
It's a huge difference between having a decent backup like a Matt Moore versus the New York Jets, where you have two quarterbacks that are ill-equipped to play the position,
Yeah, it
and
works.
you go from a promising season to 1-6, and the season's over before the trade deadline.
And I think Doug Peterson is going to do a lot of things with Jalen Hurts, similar to what Harbaugh did with Lamar Jackson when they first drafted him. Um, I think we'll see him in spots where he'll come out and like Carson Wentz will be off to the side and Jalen Hurts is taking the snap, and it may just be a direct QB run.
Yeah,
It may not be him actually passing the ball, but
a
just
lot more
so
Philly specials maybe in the
you
future.
know. But he can grind out tough yards. He can grind out some tough yards here, and he lost Jordan Howard too. You remember we just talked about that. So I mean, Miles Sanders often considered not going to be mistaken for a power back. So I mean, if you're in 3rd and 1 and you don't want Carson taking the ball, hey Jalen Hurts, you get in there. You know, and he's athletic enough to make some plays happen. I told Nick, who's as anyone knows is an avid Eagle fan, and he had the hard time wrapping around some of the picks. But man, I honestly love what Philly did. Philly did a great job, and I think they had a better draft than Dallas.
Mhm.
And I think that's going to come to the light when it comes time to add on.
Well, that's going to do it for us here. Thanks again to our sponsor, Diplomacy Clothing. Check out these new face masks just got. You can get yours. Just DM them on Instagram at Diplomacy Clothing. This is it for me and Roll. Thank you guys so much for keeping with us. Subscribe and like for more off the bench content. Check out our live stream from the NFL draft, the first round only. It was long and it was hilarious. Listen to us on Spotify and make sure you follow the Facebook at Off the Bench Pod. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.